In the dark of night, a team of divers prepares for a dangerous expedition. Their journey will take them 60 miles offshore and a half-century back in time.
For over 50 years, the official story was a lie. History books told us a Nazi U-boat, the U-869, vanished near Africa, a settled case from a bygone war. But deep off the coast of New Jersey, a ghost was waiting. Now, cutting-edge AI has scanned every corroded inch of this sunken tomb, creating a perfect digital twin. And the thing nobody tells you is that this technology didn't just find relics. It uncovered a secret the government kept for decades. What this AI found rewrites the final moments of 56 men and challenges the official history of a World War II naval victory. The Atlantic's Phantom Predator. For more than 50 years, the story of the German submarine U-869 was an open and shut case, a mere footnote in the annals of the Second World War. The official account, accepted by naval historians and governments alike, was simple and clean. On February 11, 1945, American warships on patrol near the Strait of Gibraltar detected a hostile target. After a fierce engagement, the U-boat was sent to its watery grave. The 56 men aboard were declared lost, another casualty in the brutal Battle of the Atlantic. It was a clear victory, a testament to Allied naval power. But not all things are what they seem. Thousands of miles away, in the cold, dark waters off the coast of New Jersey, a secret was waiting. The ocean, it turns out, forgets nothing. In the summer of 1991, a group of recreational divers, led by the legendary John Chatterton, stumbled upon a ghost. 60 miles off Point Pleasant, at a depth of 230 feet, their sonar painted a picture that shouldn't exist, the unmistakable silhouette of a submarine. This was a depth that pushed the absolute limits of scuba diving, a place of crushing pressure, freezing temperatures, and near total darkness. Many people are crazy about wreck diving, but this was different. Initial research yielded nothing. No American submarine was reported lost in this area, and according to the U.S. Navy, no German U-boat had ever been sunk this close to New Jersey's shores during the war. The wreck was an anomaly, a phantom. Chatterton and his team nicknamed it the Ghost Sub. The thing nobody tells you about diving on a deep, unknown wreck is that it's like performing surgery in the dark during an earthquake. The currents are vicious, visibility can drop to zero in seconds, and the twisted, corroded metal of the wreck is a maze of snagging hazards. Every minute spent at that depth is a minute your body is being saturated with nitrogen, turning the ascent into a long, dangerous series of decompression stops. But the mystery was too compelling to ignore. For 6 years, Chatterton and a gritty team, including fellow wreck hunter Richie Kohler, launched dozens of perilous dives. They were determined to force the ghost to give up its name. Slowly, piece by piece, the evidence mounted. They found German-labeled gauges and metric dials confirming its origin. But which U-boat was it? The submarine was heavily damaged, torn open in a way that suggested a catastrophic event. They explored the haunting interior, swimming through compartments filled with the ghosts of everyday life. One day, deep inside the wreckage, a diver found a tarnished butter knife. It was a simple, mundane object, but on its handle, a name was engraved: Horenberg. This single clue would blow the case wide open. Back on the surface, exhaustive research connected the name to a crewman, Georg Horenberg, who was listed on the official manifest of one submarine and one submarine only, the U-869. The same U-869 that was supposedly 6,000 miles away at the bottom of the Mediterranean. It was impossible. The official story had to be wrong. The final confirmation came when the team located the engine room and matched serial numbers with shipyard records. The Ghost Sub had a name, but this only deepened the mystery. If U-869 was here, what was sunk off the coast of Gibraltar? And more importantly, how did this formidable war machine meet its end in the quiet waters off the American coast? The divers had the physical proof, but the full story was still trapped in the mangled steel. What happened next changes the game for underwater exploration when silicon brains scan steel tombs. For decades, the story of U-869 remained a tale of grit and human determination, a mystery solved by divers risking their lives for a piece of history. They had answered the what and the where, but the how and the why were still debated in dive bars and historical forums. The wreck was too deep, too damaged, and too dangerous for a complete forensic analysis. You see, The human eye can only see so much, and the human mind can only piece together clues in a linear fashion. The sheer volume of data, the angles of torn metal, the stress fractures, the scatter field of debris was overwhelming. Theories ranged from an attack by Allied ships that was never properly reported to a fatal design flaw, but there was no definitive proof. The case went cold, the submarine a silent monument on the seafloor until now. Enter Project Kronos, a revolutionary initiative using advanced artificial intelligence to re-examine historical cold cases. The project's engineers fed every scrap of data about the U-869 discovery into a powerful neural network. We're talking about petabytes of information, every sonar scan ever taken, thousands of hours of dive footage, high-resolution photographs, historical blueprints of the Type C-40 U-boat, and even metallurgical reports on the steel used in its construction. This AI wasn't just looking at pictures, it was consuming the entire history and physical reality of the wreck. Its goal was not just to map the submarine, but to create a perfect one-to-one digital twin, a virtual interactive model of U-869 as it rests today, and more importantly, as it was in its final violent seconds. The thing nobody tells you is that this kind of AI thinks in ways we can't. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't have preconceived notions. It sees patterns and chaos that are invisible to human experts. The AI began by stitching together all the visual data into a seamless three-dimensional model, a process called photogrammetry. But on an unprecedented scale, it corrected for the distortion of the water, filled in missing data points with probable structural shapes based on the original blueprints, and created a model so accurate you could virtually swim through its ghostly corridors. But this was just the beginning. The AI's real task was to conduct a forensic analysis. It cross-referenced the damage patterns with historical accounts of naval weapon signatures. It analyzed the splay of the ruptured hull plates to determine the direction and force of the explosion. Was it from the outside, as from a depth charge, or did it come from within? The AI processed thousands of simulations, modeling every possibility. It simulated the pressure wave of a torpedo strike. It modeled the explosive force of a sea mine. It even modeled the catastrophic failure of the submarine's own complex systems under pressure. The system was looking for a perfect match, a simulation that ended with the digital wreck looking exactly like the real wreck 230 feet below. It was a digital autopsy on a colossal scale. While the original divers had found the body, the AI was about to determine the cause of its demise, and in doing so, it would finally give a voice to the 56 silent souls trapped within. What it found was hidden in plain sight all along, the clues sealed in steel. As the AI rendered its perfect digital twin, it allowed researchers to explore the U-869 in a way that was never before possible. They could peel back layers of the hull, phase through walls, and examine every object from any angle, all without the dangers of deep-sea diving. The results were nothing short of breathtaking. The interior of the submarine was a perfectly preserved time capsule. Because of the extreme depth, the water was cold, dark, and low in oxygen, a hostile environment for humans, but a perfect preservative for history. The AI's scan revealed the human story of the crew in heartbreaking detail. In the crew quarters, it identified the ghostly outlines of rotting bedrolls and the warped, pulpy remains of books on shelves. In the mess hall, plates and utensils were still neatly stacked, as if waiting for a meal that would never be served. This is where the wow factor really kicks in. The AI's resolution was so high it could identify individual objects in the debris. It digitally reconstructed a rusted harmonica found in a locker, its metal reeds forever silenced. It sharpened the image of playing cards, scattered across a table, as if abandoned mid-game. These weren't just artifacts, they were echoes of the men who lived and served here. Young men, most of them barely out of their teens, living in crushingly cramped quarters, a world away from home. The scan brought their final moments into sharp, poignant focus, revealing personal items like worn leather boots, shaving kits, and even a cracked mirror that once reflected a sailor's face. It was a stark reminder that this war machine was also a home. But the AI was looking for more than just personal effects. It was hunting for the crucial clue that would solve the sinking. The divers had noted something strange. Several of the torpedo tubes were still sealed. This was a critical piece of the puzzle. U-869 was a hunter. Its primary purpose was to attack Allied shipping. If it had been sunk in a battle with the American destroyers, as the official story claimed, it would have almost certainly fired its weapons in defense. The sealed tubes suggested U-869 wasn't in combat when it went down. So what happened? The most telling evidence came from the control room. The digital model showed a scene of utter devastation, twisted steel, shattered gauges, and ruptured pipes. But the AI's analysis showed something the divers could only guess at. By tracing the energy of the explosion, the AI determined that the blast wasn't centered outside the hull. The force came from inside the U-boat, specifically from the forward torpedo room. The hull was peeled outwards, not punched inwards. The damage was catastrophic, but it was self-inflicted. The submarine had been ripped apart from the inside out. This single finding, confirmed by thousands of simulations, ruled out an attack by depth charges. It ruled out a sea mine. The ghost sub hadn't been hunted. It had, in a terrifying twist of fate, become its own executioner. The 50-year-old official story was not just wrong, it was a complete fabrication. The truth was far more terrifying, and it was hiding in one of the U-boat's own weapons. The Circle Runner theory confirmed. The AI had pointed to an internal explosion in the forward torpedo room. With this directive, it ran a final series of intense simulations, focusing on one specific terrifying possibility: a Circle Runner torpedo malfunction. The thing nobody tells you about the torpedoes of that era is that they were incredibly complex and sometimes dangerously unreliable. A Circle Runner was a torpedo that, due to a steering malfunction after being fired, would turn back and strike the very submarine that launched it. It was every U-boat captain's worst nightmare. The AI took the specifications of the G7E torpedo, the type U-869 carried, and simulated a launch with a gyroscopic failure. It modeled the torpedo's path, the time it would take to circle back, and the exact explosive impact on the submarine's hull. The result was a perfect match. The simulation showed the rogue torpedo striking the forward section of U-869, triggering a sympathetic detonation of the warheads inside the submarine's own torpedo room. The AI's model of the explosion, the hull rupture, the internal destruction, it all aligned perfectly with the photogrammetry and sonar data from the real wreck. It was the smoking gun. The AI concluded with a 99.9% probability that U-869 was not sunk by Allied forces, but by a catastrophic failure of its own weapon. The 56 men aboard never saw it coming. One moment they were hunting, the next they were gone, victims of a technological betrayal. This revelation completely rewrites a piece of naval history. The official victory credited to the U.S. Navy near Gibraltar was a ghost. They had likely attacked a different submarine, or perhaps even a false sonar target, and in the fog of war, it was misidentified as U-869. For over 50 years, that official account stood, a comfortable and heroic narrative. But the truth was messier, more tragic, and lay hidden for decades until technology became powerful enough to uncover it. The discovery of U-869 wasn't just about correcting a historical error, it was about returning the true story to the families of the men who were lost, and honoring the divers who risked everything to find them. The thing is, when you start to think about it, this story opens up a Pandora's box of questions. If the official record was wrong about this one submarine, what other facts of history are just convenient stories? Are we missing key details about other famous events? We are entering an age where AI can re-examine our past with an unbiased and incredibly powerful eye. What other comfortable lies are buried just beneath the surface, waiting for the right algorithm to dig them up? Is this just the beginning? A cover-up within a cover-up. The AI's conclusion is neat, logical, and backed by petabytes of data. A 99.9% probability is as close to a sure thing as you can get. For the history books, the case of U-869 is finally closed. A tragic accident, a faulty weapon, a mystery solved by technology. But not all things are what they seem. You see, on the wilder shores of the internet, in the deep forums and comment sections where mysteries like this never truly die, the AI's clean explanation is seen as just another cover story. The whispers say that the Circle Runner theory is just the easiest answer, not the real one. Many people are crazy about these alternative ideas, and when you start to look at them, you realize the AI might have solved how it sank. but it never truly answered why it was there in the first place. One of the most persistent online rumors is the secret cargo theory. The thing nobody tells you is that by early 1945, the war was all but lost for Germany. High-ranking officials were desperate, looking for escape routes and ways to preserve their assets and technology. The theory goes that U-869 wasn't on a combat patrol at all. Its sealed torpedo tubes weren't because it was preparing to fire. It was because fighting was the last thing it was supposed to do. Its mission was to be a ghost, a deep-sea transport for something or someone of immense value. What was it carrying? That's where the speculation runs wild. Some say it was carrying blueprints and components for advanced technology, perhaps even early nuclear research materials, as part of a secret deal with factions in the Americas. Others believe it was laden with Nazi gold or priceless stolen art, a down payment for a new life in South America. This ties into another, even darker rumor, the final escape theory. Was U-869 a high-tech taxi service? The online chatter suggests the U-boat might have been tasked with transporting a high-ranking Nazi official who was too important to capture. The destination, not New York, but perhaps a rendezvous point with another vessel further south, with the ultimate goal of reaching sympathetic enclaves in Argentina or Brazil. Proponents of this theory point to the submarine's unusual location far off the typical patrol routes as proof that it was avoiding all common shipping lanes. A malfunction or an internal dispute over the mission's objective could have led to a struggle, a fire, and the detonation of the torpedoes. It wasn't an accident. In this version, it was a mutiny or sabotage that went horribly wrong. Then there's the theory that paints the U.S. Navy in a much more complicated light. What if the original Gibraltar story wasn't just a mistake? What if it was a deliberate lie? This is the double cover-up theory. In this scenario, U.S. naval intelligence knew U-869 was heading for the American coast. They knew it was on a secret mission. They couldn't let it succeed, but for political reasons, they also couldn't have it known that a Nazi U-boat was operating so close to home so late in the war. It would have caused a public panic. So, they sent a hunter-killer group to intercept it, not with conventional depth charges, but with an experimental weapon, perhaps an advanced acoustic torpedo of their own. The weapon worked perfectly, destroying the U-boat, but its existence had to remain top secret. So the Navy created the Gibraltar story as a convenient fiction to explain the U-boat's disappearance, while hiding the truth of both its real location and the secret weapon used to eliminate it. When you think about it this way, the AI's finding of an internal explosion becomes even more sinister. What if the experimental American weapon wasn't designed to just punch a hole in the hull, but to trigger the U-boat's own munitions against it? The ultimate deniability. The perfect crime. It explains everything. The U-boat's location, the internal explosion, and the official 50-year lie. The AI, for all its power, can only analyze the physical evidence. It can't analyze human motive, desperation, or the dark world of wartime intelligence. It gave us a cause of demise, but the true reason 56 men ended up in a steel tomb off the coast of New Jersey might be a secret that no machine can ever truly unlock. The Atlantic's other phantoms. The story of U-869 is a chilling dive into a 50-year-old lie, a single ghost submarine whose true fate was brought to light by technology. It makes you wonder what else is down there, locked away in the crushing deep. But the thing nobody tells you is that U-869 wasn't an isolated case. As the war came to a close, the German U-boat fleet seemed to go rogue, with dozens of submarines embarking on strange, desperate final missions that have fueled mysteries for over 75 years. U-869, it turns out, is just one member of a whole wolfpack of ghosts. Perhaps the most famous of these phantom voyages are those of U-530 and U-977. While the war in Europe officially ended in May of 1945, these two U-boats seemed to miss the memo entirely. Months later, in July and August, they surfaced and peacefully surrendered in Mar del Plata, Argentina. You see, this was thousands of miles from their patrol zones and months after they were ordered to surrender. The journey itself was a stunning feat of navigation and survival. But the question that has haunted historians ever since is, what were they doing for all that time? And who or what did they drop off along the way? The rumors exploded immediately. These weren't just rogue crews, they were the Führer's convoy, the secret taxis used to smuggle high-ranking Nazi officials, including possibly even Adolf Hitler himself, to a new life in South America. The crews were interrogated, but their stories were vague. They claimed they had just been hiding out, afraid of what would happen if they surrendered. But not all things are what they seem, and the mystery of what was unloaded on a remote Patagonian beach before they surrendered has never been solved. If that sounds like a wild conspiracy, just look at the confirmed story of U-234. This submarine's final mission is proof that top-secret world-changing cargo was absolutely being moved in the final days of the war. When U-234 surrendered to the United States, the American forces were stunned by what they found inside. It was carrying over 1,200 pounds of uranium oxide, a key ingredient for an atomic device. It also had the latest German jet engine blueprints, advanced radar systems, and, most shocking of all, 2 high-ranking Japanese military officers. Its mission was to deliver this cargo to Japan to help them turn the tide of the war in the Pacific. It was a real-life superweapon delivery service. This confirmed mission makes the wild theories about U-869's secret cargo seem much more plausible. These U-boats were part of a pattern of desperate clandestine operations. Some ended in mystery, others in bizarre accidents, like U-1206, which sank after a mishap with its brand-new high-tech toilet caused a catastrophic flood. From secret convoys to Argentina, to uranium shipments for Japan, to bizarre technological failures, the final days of the U-boat fleet were filled with chaos and secrets. The story of U-869 and its tragic accidental end off the coast of New Jersey is not an outlier. It's a crucial piece of a much larger, darker puzzle that we are still trying to put together, one sunken wreck at a time. What other secrets are still out there, waiting in the deep? And do you think we should use AI to question every official story? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into the unknown.